Hello, Norbert.
Hello.
How are you today?
I mean, all right. Full time at work, 8 hours. A bit exhausted, but I'm excited to talk with you about on-device AI.
Yeah, because it's already 5 p.m. in
Yes.
Krakow, so yeah, we are after hours. So a little bit tired. Sorry for that, guys. If anyone notices, which we do our best, we really do. And also, if you're not in Krakow, you might not know that the weather is 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 not motivating at all. It rains. It's windy. It's cold. Better to stay home and listen to our live.
Exactly.
Don't go outside today. Don't go outside today.
I hope you have some tea or coffee. to
We
drink.
do.
Yes.
We have water. It's not good day to go out. Like, do you do some sports, Norbert? Maybe
I like to go to gym, or
in indoor then.
lately I'm playing some football.
Ooh.
Exactly in the section from formation.
Soccer for American viewers.
Yes. So yeah, but it's not perfect weather for playing football.
It's not. And you're playing outside?
Yes, we were playing until last month, and now we have a break, and we are meant to resume at the beginning of November, but we'll play on the...
Under the balloon, like
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
So it's still cold, but at least it doesn't rain
Yes.
inside. Yeah, makes
And
sense.
there's no snow.
There's no snow. Yeah. But yeah, lately there's not too much snow in Poland anyway. Global warming takes a toll on our winters, unfortunately.
Okay, so someone's in Krakow and he's walking, so I wish you good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
I hope you have umbrella.
You can let us know whether it rained now or maybe it stopped, because we don't have windows in this room. Yeah, so I think we gave you guys some time to chime in, and we can start our actual topic of the conversation, which is on-device AI, especially using React Native, and of course using some libraries that we are gonna be covering today. How about that? Maybe let's start with the broadest of the topics. So on-device AI in general. So Norbert here is one of the maintainers and co-creators of React Native ExecuTorch library from
Exactly.
SWM, and as far as I know, React Native RAG as well.
Yes, we are the team behind both libraries.
Yeah, those are not the only options for on-device AI, but like we of course gonna cover those and some alternatives. So maybe let's start with a very simple question, which is why even bother with on-device AI if we can actually use all the power of AI and LLMs and other things using API and remote hosts?
Okay, so maybe I will start with a definition of on-device AI. So I think everyone has a mobile phone. They have it in their pockets.
I do.
Yes, a lot of people have laptops. So on-device AI means that we take an AI model and we execute it on mobile phone or on laptop or on different devices. For example, there are Meta Ray-Ban glasses, so they can run on-device AI. So that means that we are running an AI model on device and we don't send any information, any data to cloud. So all the processing is done on device.
Okay, so I can already see that that's going to be great for offline experience.
Exactly. When there's no internet connection, it's very important for some use cases where we don't want to share our data with some cloud provider. So, for example, OpenAI or different vendors like that offer.
So that's also security concern, right?
Yes. So it's fully private. And also, our mobile phones, for example, are very powerful right now, and they have dedicated hardware to run AI models. So why we shouldn't use that?
Yeah, that makes sense. And so the most popular alternative, and pretty much every AI application I can think of now uses power of AI in the cloud, right? So there's some server that runs powerful either language model or any other AI model, you send a message to this server and receive an answer. So I'm also curious, like, because sometimes the latency is the problem, right?
Yes.
Is that the case with on-device AI? Like, because I can imagine that on the other hand, on device is not as powerful, so there probably might be also some latency, not because of network latency, but because of like the processing time on device
Yes.
itself.
So it definitely saves some time on latency of network connection. However, on device we have to run smaller models than the ones that are running in cloud. So the smaller models can be very, very fast. And when we save the cost of doing a network connection,
Yep.
we can get answer much faster. However, on-device AI isn't a double-edged sword, so we have to use smaller models, which are weaker, which are sometimes dumber. So we have to find a use case for on-device AI because we can't use it for very complex tasks because it won't do it.
Probably you won't be able, even if you could, you won't be able to effectively run like Claude 4 or GPT-5 on device offline.
Yes, it's not possible. However, 3 years ago, the GPT-3 was announced and released. And right now we have small models that fit on mobile phones that are even smarter than GPT-3. So it was only 3 years and we have that power in our own pocket. So we can imagine that maybe in 3-4 years we'll be able to run, or maybe even earlier we'll be able to
Yeah,
run.
because usually the growth is like exponential.
Yes, we'll be able to run model which will be as smart as current Claude on our device.
That's very tempting. That's very tempting. I can definitely see that. But the growth is usually exponential, but it slows at some point, and we never know where we are, whether it's still yet exponential or it's slowly stepping down in development. But anyway, I feel like there are tons of potential use cases for that. Probably I'll try to remember for later one of them to bring up the discussion and see how we could do that using libraries that we have. But in the meantime, let's talk about the library that you work on. So React Native ExecuTorch. So of course, probably everyone on this stream knows what React Native is, but maybe the second part of the name of the library is a little bit like not so obvious for everyone. Especially it wasn't obvious for me a few weeks ago. So what is ExecuTorch?
Okay, so ExecuTorch is a solution created by Meta, which is also a creator of PyTorch. I think a lot of people heard about PyTorch. I think it's the most popular
probably, but you might
technology to create neural networks and AI models right now. So ExecuTorch allows you to take a PyTorch model and export it to format, which is supported by ExecuTorch. And it also offers a very lightweight runtime in which you can run this model. And those runtimes can be run on mobile phones or on different devices. As I said earlier, it's used on Meta Ray-Ban glasses. So it's very small and very fast, and it also offers support for different delegates. And by delegates, I mean things like CoreML, which offers operators which are implemented to run on dedicated hardware on Apple devices. And it speed ups execution of model by a lot. So yeah, ExecuTorch is great because we can stay in the same environment. So when we are creating a model, we can stay in the same environment, which is familiar to us, so PyTorch, and easily deploy our model to edge devices.
Okay, so basically the way it works, if I understood you correctly, is you use power of PyTorch to create or fine-tune some model for your specific use case. Then you have this model, this machine learning model or AI model, and it's able to be exported somehow and then executed on ExecuTorch on any device that supports ExecuTorch or in any environment. So what you do is like you provide this specific ExecuTorch environment that allows you to run PyTorch models on on device inside the React Native application. Am I right?
Basically, yes.
Great, awesome.
So now maybe moving to React Native part. So why we decided to create such library. ExecuTorch is a very big project, and it's modular, and you have to be really familiar with it to to use it in your applications. And the process of adding ExecuTorch to Android or iOS app is pretty hard. So we decided to take this responsibility and do that. So we did that, so our users don't have to do it. So they basically install the library in their mobile application, and they have runtime. The runtime is accessible by them in the applications.
That's awesome, but can I run my own model? Let's say that I am playing around with PyTorch. I don't know. I'm fine tuning or creating a model to be the best chess player in the world, and I want to somehow use it in my React Native application. Is it easy? Is it possible, or possible but not that easy?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. So we have a hook called useExecuTorch hook, and we have also ExecuTorch module, which is a simple API which you can access, and it allows you to load any model that's compatible with ExecuTorch.
Okay.
However, you will have to do pre-processing and post-processing of data by yourself.
Okay.
However, for more common use cases like classification or segmentation, we have a dedicated hooks and dedicated APIs, which you can use. And basically, you load an image, you pass it to a function, and you will return the result in a form that's readable.
Okay, so the hook that you are mentioning is like the most general hook, but
Yes.
for those most common, most popular use cases, you also provide easy-to-use hooks that allows you to, I don't know, you've mentioned you've mentioned one of the potential use cases, but what are the other use cases that you cover out of the box?
So, for example, we have used LLM hook, which allows you to load and run LLMs, and we have a lot of LLMs exported.
Great.
And I think we'll talk later about models and where you can get them. Also, we have used speech-to-text hook, which allows you to do transcription of audio to text. Also, we have a lot of hooks related to computer vision, like use OCR. I don't know if you know what OCR is.
Yeah, I know, but you can.
Okay, so it's optical character recognition, and it allows you to take a photo of, for example, some poster or document and read the text that's on this document.
Awesome, and you also provide models for each of those use cases, right? And how can I choose can I choose from some variety on models? Like, let's focus on one use case. I don't know, speech to text, and do I have more than one model to choose from when using this functionality?
So it depends, because in case of use speech to text, we have one model, which is Whisper. However, we have it exported in a few different sizes. So there's, for example, Whisper Tiny, Whisper Base, and Whisper Small. I think it's in that order, from the smallest to the bigger one. You can choose the model based on your use case. So if you are sure that the users that will be using your app will have a powerful phone, you can take a larger model.
Okay.
However, if you want to make your app accessible to more devices, even weaker one, you have to choose smaller model. But for example, speech to text is a quite complete task. So the pre-processing and post-processing pipeline is highly related to model we are running. So it means we have to create a lot of a different pre-processing strategy if you want to use different model. That's why we give you an option to use only Whisper with that hook.
Okay.
However, if there's a use case like classification, for example, you can choose from different models, because the classification is much more simpler model, because you just take a photo and you pass the pixel data to the model, and the model will output you the probability of the the image belonging to a class. So you can just switch the list of classes that the model outputs, and you are ready to go, and you can use different models.
Okay, so you said pre-processing and post-processing. So I imagine that the actual task of you can divide these tasks when working with one of the models into 3 steps. So it's pre-processing of data into some format that the model expects, then the actual work of the model, then which outputs some vector, and then pre-processing this vector into something that you can understand, right?
Exactly.
Can you using React Native ExecuTorch customize those pre-processing and post-processing steps within specific hook or specific use case?
There's you can specify some configs, which specify some settings for the preprocessing. However, to create your own custom preprocessing, you need to probably implement it by yourself. So you can then use our ExecuTorch module API, and with it you can just prepare the data for the model and then do your own custom post-processing.
Awesome. So back to my example of chess player. So let's assume that I'm not very good at chess, which is actually very true, and I want to improve or create a model that will play for me and will do better job than me. So let's say I created a model using PyTorch that plays, and it plays as just as good as a player with 1800 ranking, let's say, which is pretty impressive. I would love to have such ranking, and I want to use React Native ExecuTorch inside my app, inside my chess app that I am working on. So what would I need to do in simple words to make that happen?
So first of all, you need to install our library.
Great.
Then you have to prepare the data. So you already created the model, so you know what's the input of this model. And the input of every model is a tensor, and the output is also a tensor.
So what is tensor?
A tensor is multidimensional array, basically.
Of numbers, basically.
Yes, exactly. So you need to present the data for your model in such a way that you trained your model on. And then you will have to see the result and do some post-processing on it. So you will probably get some probabilities of every move or something like that. So you need to select the most probable move. And
best move.
And that's basically everything. You just execute.
Okay, but how do I need to publish my model somewhere in order for React Native ExecuTorch to be able to download it, or can I add it to the application as a static asset?
So we basically offer 3 ways of loading the model. The first one is putting the model in assets directory of React Native, but that's the case only of models that are under 512 megabytes, because the application won't build if the model
should
is
be fine
larger.
for my model. It's not that great of a chess player.
However, there are other options. For example, you can publish your model to Hugging Face, like we do with our own models, and then just paste the link to the model on Hugging Face to the use ExecuTorch module hook, and the model will download at the first execution of the hook, and then it will be stored in a documents directory of your application, so it won't be downloaded again and again, so it only needs to be downloaded once. And there's also a third way. So if your users already have a model on device, they can specify the path to it and load it that way. But I think it's not that common case.
So basically I can also download it from anywhere, just to my mobile phone's file system, and then just say ExecuTorch, it is here. I downloaded it here on my own, not from Hugging Face, but from my private repository, and that would work as well.
Yes,
that's awesome. But we've covered a lot of great stuff about React Native ExecuTorch, but I can imagine that there's also the second side to this story. So, what are the drawbacks? I can think of some very obvious ones. So, because you already said that 512 megabytes is a limitation, which like implies magnitude of size of those models. So, there's gonna be a lot of disk space occupied by those models. Am I right?
Right. So we have models that weigh around 3 megabytes, but we also have ones that have like 6 gigabytes of size,
Whoa.
many LLMs, and really large LLMs, but 6 gigabytes is a lot, and you have to download it.
Mhm.
So it's definitely a limitation. Also, the larger models like LLMs use a lot of RAM, so it's from like 1 gigabyte to even 6, 7.
Mhm.
So you won't be able to run a very large model on a device with, for example, 3 gigabytes of RAM. And yeah, so there's a limit of computations. So
Okay.
as we said earlier, you won't be able to run model like Claude on your device. So
Yeah,
it won't be
obvious.
possible.
But in real life, like, because I can of course imagine that there's no limit for size of the model itself. But do you remember any numbers for the actual real life use cases? Like, for example, what's the magnitude of size for those small Whisper models? Do you remember any
So
of that?
small Whisper models weigh around. They consist of two parts, encoder and decoder. So encoder is about 30 megabytes, and the decoder is 130 megabytes.
Okay, so that's
So-
significant, but not for most use cases. Probably not a blocker to
Yes.
occupy
So
another 150
for example, in case of
megabytes.
LLMs, I think the LLMs that you will want to use in your applications will weigh around 500 megabytes to 2 gigabytes.
Okay.
I think anything larger will be like overkill for the use cases that you want to do on your mobile phones.
Okay, you've mentioned a little bit about RAM usage. How about processing power? And maybe the most important question, like, does it run on GPU or CPU?
So ExecuTorch allows us to run models both on CPU and GPU. For now, most of our models runs on CPU because like the integration of backends. So by backend, I mean the implementation of operators that can use the dedicated hardware like
Mhm.
GPUs or neural engines.
Okay.
Integration is limited, so there are some problems with exporting models. Of course, it's doable. However, the battery will drain fast, and I think the performance benefits aren't really that large.
Okay.
So for now, we think that the CPU is enough, and the CPUs are very powerful. So our models run up, I think, fast.
Okay. So, but if I was very dedicated to use GPU for one of my models, let's say that I have a model created with PyTorch that actually could run on GPU. Can I do that, or is there any blocker now in React Native ExecuTorch?
Of course, you can do that. We have binaries that have the implementation of operators, and they are already linked in our library.
Great.
So if you manage to export the model, you are free to go.
Great. But from your experience, it wasn't necessary for any of use cases that you've covered. And let's maybe say some of those use cases so that people have an idea of how broad variety of problems we already cover in React Native ExecuTorch.
And you mean using the GPU?
No, meaning the CPU. Like what use cases are already covered
Okay.
by specific hooks in React Native ExecuTorch, just to get an understanding of what's possible using CPU actually.
Okay, so we have large language models, of course,
That's
speech to text, which I talked about earlier. We have vision tasks, which are classification, segmentation, OCR, and basically, I think I would need to check in
that's
our
not an exam,
documentation.
so not
Yes.
an exam.
So you can feel free to look at our documentation and the various cases we cover. We are also working on voice activity detection I don't know if you know.
I can. I think I know, but I would love
Yeah.
to.
So when you have an audio, you want to detect when someone is speaking. So you basically put audio to the model, and the model outputs to you the timestamps where someone is speaking. So I think it's a pretty great use case. We are also working on.
Does it work in real time, like for some streaming applications?
It's insanely fast. So
Nice.
for 5 seconds audio, I think it's running in 150 milliseconds.
But does it work for stream as well? So that I don't know if I am working on Google Meet application and I want to not to send any voice data when nobody is speaking. Actually, would that work?
Yes,
Great.
it should work. So, for example, Whisper also, the smallest one, also works on mobile phones in a streaming way.
Great. Awesome.
So it's pretty fast. And we are also working on text-to-speech, which is basically you put the text in the model, and the model will output you an audio with someone reading the text.
That's awesome. Like, and very interesting because looking at NVIDIA stocks, like I would assume that you really need GPU in order to execute any, especially large language models, effectively. But what you are saying is that for all the use cases you've covered, CPU is actually good enough.
Yes,
and that's awesome. So we could probably do a little bit better with GPU, but
yes,
it might
exactly.
be overkill.
But I think it will drain your battery really fast, and the performance benefits. Okay, it will be faster, but not that faster.
Okay, great. So, yeah, to sum up, we have, of course, huge benefits from using React Native ExecuTorch and in general of on-device AI, which are low latency time, working in offline mode, using usage of our specific models if we really want to, and privacy, which is very important. But we do have some drawbacks like high disk space usage, RAM usage, and CPU usage as well, which of course comes with battery life. So yeah, with great power comes great responsibility, as always.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm also curious because whenever we hear about new device being released either by Apple or Google or any other great manufacturer, we hear a lot of noise about new AI features. So as far as I know, and if I understand those keynotes correctly, there are pretty powerful AI engines already on every device, even if you have no AI specific app. Like it's just part of operating system, be it iOS or Android. And of course, every company has its own AI engine to stand out from the others. So what if I wanted to use one of those? Is React Native ExecuTorch giving me any helping hand in that, or should I look for other solutions?
Okay, so I think you mean the models that were shipped in the last release of iOS. So Apple Foundational LLM. So I mean,
there's also Gemini on Android for few versions, I guess.
I think it is, but I'm not sure if it's available on all devices. I believe it's available on Pixels currently. So it's definitely not for every Android phone. However, there's one for almost every iOS phone, which runs iOS 26. So basically, we decided not to add support in our library. First of all, we are called React Native ExecuTorch, so it doesn't fit our brand, let's say. Also, there's no alternative for Android, so we will need to implement it only for iOS users, which is also a limitation. And we want to. One of our goals is to provide similar tools for both iOS and Android developers. However, you can use library called React Native AI, which has a support for Apple Foundational models. I believe they have large language models and speech-to-text. which is using the model which is already on device on Apple phones.
Okay, we of course don't know that much about React Native AI because it's not really maintained by us. But as far as I know, there are some great maintainers behind that. So you can definitely go and check it out and see what it can do for you, especially if React Native ExecuTorch is not the best fit for you. So as always, variety of tools, but it's ultimately your decision as a developer to see which tool fits you best and use it in your project. So let's say I wanted to give it a go and see how it works. Of course, I can go and install React Native ExecuTorch in my application. But is there any easier way? Do you have any demo app that I can see how it actually works? I know that there was whoever attended App.js conference this year, it was there. There was some speech recognition, cat or fish, right?
We had it was exactly a classification model. However, it was a model that was detecting.
Because you were meowing, right?
Right. So it was a model that had to detect if you are doing a voices of dog or a voice of cat, and the design of application changed based on the model output. So it was kind of cool, and it was a production example. However, if you want to test and see how the on-device AI works, you can check out our open source application, which is called Private Mind. It's available both for iOS and Android. And it's an private alternative for ChatGPT application, for example. So you can select from different LLMs that we already exported and are hosting on our Hugging Face repository. And you can see how it works. And in the next week, we are going to release another version with great features. And by great features, I mean RAG capabilities and speech-to-text. And of course, everything will work on device. So there's no data sent to the cloud. And by speech-to-text, I mean you can click the button with microphone and talk to the phone. And then the text will be generated, and you can send this message to LLM. And by RAG capability, I mean that you will be able to upload documents and then ask the LLM that's working in the application about some things from that document.
Okay, so that's RAG, and that was about to be my next question, actually. So what is RAG, and especially what is React Native RAG, another library, another AI-related library that you, especially, and we as Software Mention, work on? What is that, and how can that be useful for all of you guys?
So LLMs doesn't know everything, especially small LLMs. They can be very stupid. So maybe we can give those LLMs some context, some additional informations. So for example, we can upload some documents with our notes. And then we want to ask this LLM about, something that, let's say that we were doing notes during the lectures for a whole semester. And then we use this document as a context for LLM. So basically, when we write a question to LLM, which will be our prompt, based on that question, we'll find relevant chunks, relevant part of this document. So, and these parts will be attached to the question that we are giving the LLM. So he'll already have information about our question, and he can use it to give us a correct answer.
Okay, so how is that different from just putting everything into LLM's context? Because that's pretty much what context is for.
Yes, so basically there are limitations, especially in a case of mobile LLMs. So the context window of such LLM is about 2,000 tokens. So that means it will be like a few pages of a document.
How does it compare to context window of like ChatGPT-5?
So I'm not sure how large is GPT-5 context. I believe that there will Gemini models have a context length of like 2 million tokens or 1 million tokens. So that's a
huge difference, actually.
Yes.
So those RAGs, like getting the information in form of RAG rather than enhancing context is very, very important and can be very powerful. Am I right?
Yes, and I think you can see if you are working even with a large LLM like Gemini, that when the conversation gets longer and longer, the model is like
it's already forgetting what I was talking at the beginning. Yeah.
So you can imagine that if
it's more forgetful
if you give
than
it
me.
a whole book, it won't be able to find the most relevant parts.
Okay.
That's why we are using RAG to find those relevant parts and to give LLM only those parts which are important.
I'm always trying to say to my wife that it's not that I forgot about your birthday. It's just outside of my context window, but she doesn't get it. So yeah. And how easy is that to actually add some information using React Native RAG? Like, can you talk a little bit about the process? How difficult is that for a developer to do?
Okay, so it should be pretty easy. We have like 3 modules of in React Native RAG. The first one is, of course, LLM, which will specify the question and the context. Also, we have embeddings model, which takes our text, so for example, our content of our book or document, and it splits it into smaller chunks, and then, let's say, encodes the informations that are in these chunks. And also we have a module which offers a database. For embeddings, we are using databases called vector databases, which basically stores vectors. And then we can just use those 3 modules to load our document, embed it with the model, and then from the database select only relevant chunks based on the question and pass it to LLM, and the LLM will give us an answer. So it's pretty straightforward. You can look at our GitHub repository, and I think you won't have problems with implementing it.
Okay, we are slowly approaching the end of this live, but I wanted to talk about we've talked a lot about current state of affairs, but I'm very curious, like what's future, what is future gonna bring us? Of course, it's very difficult to tell, and any predictions are usually not gonna happen. But anyway, if you have any plans for improving React Native ExecuTorch and React Native RAG, what are them, and maybe when are they gonna be shipped?
So for React Native ExecuTorch, we are slowly coming to a phase where we have the most common use case will be already present and implemented in our library. So in the next version, we should add support for voice activity detection, for text-to-speech, and also we have an image generation running fully on device, and it's pretty cool. I mean, the model isn't like Picasso. However, it can generate funny things. So I think it could be great for example, generating avatars in game or something like that. However, as we are coming to the place where we are feature complete, as I would said, we want to focus more on improving the performance, maybe diving deeper into using GPUs and exporting models for GPUs. Definitely exporting and offering more models to our users, and maybe some more custom use cases that will be needed by our community. So I think we want to make our library as stable as possible.
Okay. If I can ask for one specific use case, so let's make it as easy as it's possible for developers to create as intelligent NPCs as it's possible.
Oh, that would be cool.
That would be cool, but also very generic, yeah. Yeah, we have a question that is pretty interesting, like why not doing all on that in backend side? And I believe we really covered a lot of that, maybe on the beginning of this live. So feel free to seek that at the very beginning.
I think we can sum it up in 3 points, like the privacy, so you don't send any data to the backend side, no latency, and it works offline. So, for example, I had one use case when I was in the airplane. and I had to pair my headphones that were working through Bluetooth. And I didn't know how to do that, and I didn't have an instruction. So I opened the Private Mind application, and I asked the LLM without the internet connection, and it gave me a correct answer, and I was able to pair the headphones, which was really cool.
Great, awesome. And I can also imagine that I would love to play chess on an airplane. So with my very powerful against my very powerful model. So
I think
also
one more
very
use
good
case I heard lately was that someone from our company was in the mountains and not in Poland, and there were some signs. So he would take the text that was on the signs and put it to LLM, and the LLM translated those texts to him. So I think there are kind of cool use cases for mobile.
That's awesome.
AI.
And it means that even those small LLMs can do that. You don't need huge ChatGPT to translate some.
Exactly, for
language.
such a simple tasks like translation or, for example, doing some things. I think we didn't talk about agents, and I don't think we have a time for this, but we can make LLM do things and execute some commands. So I think we don't need a GPT-sized LLM for that.
Yep. Thank you very much, everyone. We are gonna head off because it's already almost 6 p.m. in Poland. So we'd love to go to our homes. But it was pleasure talking to you, Norbert, and I'm really looking forward for some more conversations like that. So everybody stay tuned, and see you next time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. I had a really great time, and I wish great evening for everyone.
Thank you, guys.